throwing away every ounce of goodwill earned.
Things have actually gotten even a bit worse.
You done fucked it up!
We fell severely short of those expectations.
We interrupt this opening to bring you a spoiler warning. Cyberpunk 2077 is a game. Cyberpunk 2077 is not the demon of gaming that everyone in their Xbrick 420 Pros are making you believe it is.
What the f-
Neither is it the video game messiah that I and many other gullible gamers were led to believe it was. Cyberpunk, when compared to its contemporaries, is just a good game. That's it. It's just fairly alright.
Oh, what the f-
Which, strangely enough, I'm totally cool with. Now, I want to say something before I continue with this piece of shit video. I have to say this before I'm taken out by an angry mob and euthanized. In the spirit of being a contrarian and pissing a few people off, I will not be touching on the controversy until the very, very end of this video. This is purely a review of my experience on PC. Now, it's time to jack in, jack off, or whatever else it takes for me to segue to the next part of the video. Cyberpunk is one of the most flashy, bright, and beautifully misleading games that I've played. The game has that character thing that I'm constantly preaching about in my videos, a genuine sense of authenticity. But don't let that reboot your optics. Just as much as everything is great and dandy, there is so much that is just fucking for lack of a better expression. Like amazing characters, but a lack of meaningful outcomes in dialogue. Pretty great gunplay, especially when you specialize via your skill tree. But oh boy, wouldn't it be a shame if the skill tree system was ultra ass? Incredible quest lines and a detailed world to find them in. But finding isn't a strong enough word to convey just how many. Skyrim have infinite level quests you have to go through to find these hidden story gems.
Ah, shit.
Awesome diversity of enemy variety. And by awesome, I mean only in how they look. You'll fight 4 different types of enemies with a different skin slapped on them for the whole game. At least they look pretty gnarly. Night City itself is a true work of art, so it's a bit of a goddamn problem when the AI that occupies it tries to function in any way. Traffic, pedestrians, enemies, f***ing police. It's all been stripped down to a level I lovingly call fire whomever made this shit.
You okay there, Johnny?
And don't the vehicles of the future look truly beautiful and stunning? My god, they're just so cool! I only wish they were worth driving. And cyberware? What cyberware? Holy hell, might as well have just been armor perks or something. Crafting? Whack. Life paths? Whack. Loot drops? Whack. Clothing stats? Whack. Iconic weapons? Whack. Respec? Whack. Healing mechanics? Quack. Wasted characters? Whack. Glitches? Whack. Strange goddamn blur on absolutely everything. Maybe that blur is a bit realistic. Yeah, Cyberpunk is a kooky, wacky, wowie, zowie kind of game. But I still really fucking love it. Looking back on Cyberpunk and writing this, I'm hit with so many memorable moments, so many lovely characters that have never felt more real in, well, any game I've ever played. You combine that with the gorgeous world and incredible music with so many bangers, and you start to be okay with the rest of the game. Talking to Panam around a fireplace, drinking and listening to music is cathartic after an emotional roller coaster that you've been through before the game puts you here. That kind of feeling of an emotional connection to the game is front and center. That is where Cyberpunk succeeds, in its grounded universe and the genuine people that occupy it. So let's be real, cut and dry, and segment this video, or I will be here forever. Let's start with the gameplay. And there is no better place to start than with what you'll be doing for the whole game. Following quest markers and going from this guy to that guy. Pretty standard stuff for the RPG genre. Nah, this isn't the part where I say it's any different. It's just really stock standard on that front. Get a job, go to a place, perform a task, collect rewards. There is no reinventing the wheel here. This format won't ever change, so let's focus on the parts inside that format. Driving. It's sort of like being in a wind-up Hot Wheels car. It's not the worst thing on earth, it merely performs its function. Don't bother with the racing quests either, they're a bit of a snorefest. An issue I have with driving is that there is so many vehicles in the world, but most of them aren't even worth stealing. Let alone purchasing. Why own any of the trucks or executive class vehicles? What purpose do they serve? Now, can anyone guess what you do when you finally reach your destination? Yes, that's right, you murder everyone! Yay! Honestly, what did you expect? It's not always murder though. There's a lot of quests where it's just talk to some of the most fleshed out characters in gaming. But for a lot of the time, it'll be killing a clock, and you got two central playstyles: murder everything and murder everything quietly. I don't know what game most people were playing, but shooting in Cyberpunk is fun. Of course, like any RPG, you can't correctly control your weapon until you've leveled up its skill tree, so people complaining about gunplay haven't leveled past 20.
Stop now! This is cancer!
Although the list of shooty McBangers, patent pending, isn't as large as I'd hoped, they do a good enough job of providing variety with a few issues that I will rip my hair out about later. When it comes to melee, pick sharp or blunt. That's it. Melee is pretty goddamn OP with the right setup though. For the rootin' tootin' kill everyone by shootin' playstyle, probably just skip the shooting and play a cybernetic ninja instead. Sneaking, on the other hand, boils down to two categories. Do you, A, want to shoot people and choke them out like literally every other sneaking game? Or B, engage in a style of distant dispatching I've never seen in a game before and should be included in any sneaking game in the future. If you picked option A, I'm sorry, but I diagnose you with being a f***ing basic. Net running in Cyberpunk is so much f***ing fun. If it were a fantasy game, these would be your spells, but because it's in the technological future, you can turn people's eyes off, turn off their cyberware, make them undergo cyberpsychosis and start killing their friends, all from an incredibly safe distance away as you view them through their own camera feeds. If you're deciding whether or not to play Cyberpunk, just play an intelligence build, most fun you can have in this game. Speaking of builds, and harkening back to literally what I said just now, skill progression in Cyberpunk can be f***ing stupid. You spend attribute points in one of 5 areas. Then each area governs a playstyle. Or 2. Or 3. Not all playstyles are born equal. There's secondary XP bars for each tree that let you earn extra perk points based on your actions. Sneak takedown enough goons and goobers? Well, you might get a perk point if you do that enough. This means that attributes are really valuable, and perk points are kinda just they come and go. The issue with the attributes is this. Let's say you're doing a body build and choose the Annihilation tree. You start specializing into it, and now you're running shotguns and LMGs. That would normally be sick, right? Wrong. So fucking wrong. LMGs? Try just LMG. Singular. There's no variant on the weapon like with literally every other weapon. No smart LMGs and no tech LMGs. Just one power LMG. Just the basic, no-nonsense gun that is apparently equal to all the shotguns on offer. You start to see the issue, but it's all good, right? You can just re-specialize and change your build. Wrong. Again. You can change where you've placed your perks, but not your attributes. So if you've committed hard like I did to a solo style with shotguns, realized it's as boring as a light beer and not nearly as powerful as the other styles, and then try to specialize into something else, then you might find yourself underpowered, cause you don't have enough levels left to actually get a good build going. Congratulations, Cyberpunk, and you played yourself. I pretty much restarted the whole game to correctly respecialize into a cold-blooded reflex Mantis Blades build, but after a while I just got burned out. I mean, by this point it was my 3rd playthrough, and after specializing into body and tech on my 2nd and being severely disappointed by the shittiest attribute tree, I was just dissatisfied. Now, onto something that I like. Dialogue. It can be a part of the gameplay, and although the character responses to your choices and actions is awesome, you can't really sway the story too much. Most dialogue options boil down to just, "But what do you mean? Hey V, wanna help me kill this guy? Sure, tell me more, what did you mean?" Take this section for example. The situation is that you're in a rush, and you need to skip past the queue of these two people. Here's your choices. Accept it and wait. Normally in RPGs, picking an option like this might mean that you'd miss out on something due to taking an easier way out. So in my mind, this is clearly the bad one. Pay 900 eddies to bribe them. Convince them with a cool skill check. Intimidate them with a strength check. And the final option, just ask. Now obviously, just asking wouldn't work, right? Not when there's so many other ways the game wants me to. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You can literally just ask and they let you. If you're just gonna throw all these zany dialogue options at me, at least make them mean something, man, come on. It's the illusion of choice, and now the illusion of me giving a shit about a conversation. You know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. Cyberpunk is a Skyrim tier game. What's that? You wanna be the dean of the major school and the leader of the sword-swinging boys? Well, guess what? You can. Your choices don't matter. Yay! That's very much what we have here. There's just way better dialogue to keep you interested. Which brings us to the story. You're V.
I'm V.
And V isn't whomever you want them to be.
You know, you got some nerve.
Like I said, your choices don't fully matter. However, V is a character in this story and not a blank slate, which is sick because he's so well written. I didn't even notice this despite playing as him for the whole game, all the way up until you were playing as Johnny and talking to V. And it was only then that I was like, hey wait, hold up, have I been playing an interesting character this whole time?
I said, give me one fucking minute.
What? Honestly, it was pretty awesome. 10 out of 10 writing. I'm still amazed by this in hindsight. Now, as V, you end up getting the gig of a lifetime that will end with you being rich. Only problem is that there's a ton of crap going down and you've got to sort it all out whilst avoiding the pitfalls of being a gun for hire. Or a sword. Or software engineer. Look, I don't know, dude. But of course, try as you might, destiny has other plans for you. A shitstorm ensues, you fuck up the job, your best friend dies, your fixer betrays you, you're wanted, and to top it all off, now you're dying. Thanks to the literal rockstar taking up residence in your head. At least now you have your own personal sound system. Good fucking luck surviving all that shit. Now, you've got to use the time that you have left to learn from the naive mistakes that put you where you are now, and hopefully get that foot out of the grave. Pretty gosh darn incredible premise if I do say so myself. Shame it's also goddamn linear after that. Once you understand how the story decisions work, it's a bit of a major bummer. It works like this: play through the whole game as you please, whilst doing a set of main quests. Eventually, you'll reach a point of no return, and it's time to make a choice based on what you've done. It's essentially plot-driven box ticking. Done the Aldecado's questline to completion? Well, now you have the choice of finishing the game with them at this critical juncture. Helped Johnny with Rogue and his old bandmates? Well, now you can finish it with them. It all works like that, unless you pick the secret and sickest ending, or the shitty biting a bullet ending. No matter the ending you get, the end credits are full of your loved ones and companions saying either goodbye or wishing you well. It is really goddamn cathartic. Or heartbreaking. There's that too, just lots of that.
Shit, I can't do this.
No matter what, the endings are great though, and I love most of them, even if some are reused. I think it's awesome that there is no best ending either. They're all bittersweet or foreboding for different reasons. It kinda makes sense that a person who lives their life clawing their way to being a Night City legend is not given a purely good ending. You've reaped what you've sown. One last thing about story that I must mention, one little footnote, is how gutted the gangs felt. There's no full-blown quest lines with them. They all merely represent what type of faction you'll be fighting depending on the area you're in. That's pretty much it. The trailers made me believe that each one might have had more engagement, but they don't. It's just flavoring, and they aren't even a full meal. Which brings us to our second last topic. The characters. I said it before, and I'll say it again, the characters of Cyberpunk are in-bloody-credible. The conversations you have with them and the story they share with you, it gives the game its life. If they weren't written as well as they are, there'd be nothing left to say about Cyberpunk, and it would just be written off as totally mediocre. Without them, the only other saving grace would be the music. I genuinely cared about them on my first playthrough. Something I can't say about a lot of games, because it's hard not to see characters as just a combination of models, textures, animations, and maybe a voice actor thrown in for good measure. Often, the work done by so many people can cause a singular vision for a character to become disjointed, but it's quite clear that Cyberpunk is just different. The little actions they make as they say or do something, the way the eyes light up when they send you information, the way Johnny acts like a dick in the background. The animations are all so subtle and so lifelike, it's awesome. I mean, just listen for a moment and watch.
Nothing here at all.
What did you expect? Headstone, flag, and flowers?
No, I don't know. A marker. Something. Anything.
We'll figure something out. Better now?
A bit. But let's say it was my real grave. What would you write? Here lies Johnny Silverhand.
The guy who saved my life.
V, you don't know how much I want that to be true. Listen, I realize I fucked up a lot of things. Either let down or used every last person who gave me their trust. Blind, selfish bastard that I was. But I've managed one thing for now. Not to fuck this up, what we have.
Finally, this brings us to the last topic worth discussing: music and world. The world of Cyberpunk is all over the place. Sometimes it's breathtaking and other times it's very mundane. The neon future at least never looks so good, and the advertisements everywhere that try to cater to every demographic in an aggressive manner is good world building. People who criticize it for being insensitive or pointless are games journalists and deserve to be written off as such. Comedy. And the music, my god, so many bangers, so many different genres that all have a hint of techno in them, except for the samurai songs. Each of Silverhand's songs are awesome rock songs harkening back to the late 80s, and I so desperately want a tattoo of this, but let's be honest, money is expensive. Music is such an integral part of the world of Cyberpunk. I can't help but feel like it defines its whole identity. There's a few incredible parts that had me stopping and just taking a moment to soak in what I was hearing. Johnny on guitar and Carrie just jamming on the boat by far are some of the best examples. My favorite part, however, to come out of the whole game is in the song Legend of the Afterlife and It's Been Good to Know Ya. The violin or cello or whatever it is in these two songs can be heard in so many others, and it's so bloody chilling.
Soon as it starts, there'll be no backing down. No chance at extraction. No chance of survival if anyone notices.
Excellent.
But if this works, you'll gain more than you ever imagined.
It just makes me filled to the brim with foreboding dread. This single violin riff is my favorite part in the whole game. So Legend of the Afterlife is a play on words for the Afterlife Bar, which serves drinks named after the legends of Night City, which are people who died in blazes of glory. It's the only way to claim your spot on that cocktail menu. A menu showcased in a repurposed morgue. And not only that, but one of the endings is named after this song. It implies that this is V's Blaze of Glory ending because only someone dead can become a legend, and it all feels like it's embodied in this one diabolical violin riff. Fuck. It's art! Cyberpunk is a real gem. It's a shame it's so muddied by so much f***ing shit. This game is a proverbial fustercluck, unlike anything I've seen in a while, which is a crying shame. I don't want a game that made me care about it this much to go down in infamy like it has. There's so much here to love. Such a shame it's also goddamn muddied by terrible AI, terrible police, terrible repeating side quests, terrible waste of good characters, terrible controversy, terrible broken promises, and a goddamn terrible audience reception. But despite all that, I think back on the best parts of the game, and it just hits different. A completely different experience that I don't think I'll ever be able to put into words. Cyberpunk 2077. Everyone may hate you, but I still love you, and I hope that you can get better as time goes on. You already received 18 gigabytes worth of fixes, and that came in the first week or so. I'm confident that this game will age like wine, finer than its contemporaries ever did if it gets the development time. But with how CD Projekt Red has been lately, it's doesn't look good. Hello, thank you for watching this video so far. I truly appreciate it, I really do. Unless you skipped here. Why would you skip all the way to the end commentary? Anyway, yeah, thanks again so much, I really do appreciate it. I put the most effort possible into this video. I don't think I've done one where I've focused this hard on being like, it has to be good! Cyberpunk deserves it! But yeah, I am completely biased. I am more than happy to admit that. So, go watch Crobcat's video if you want the negative side of things. I do not... he doesn't even say a word, his whole video. He just shows you why it's bad. And he is 100% right, and I'm not gonna argue with that. But there is so much in Cyberpunk that I feel like nobody's been fully talking about that I felt like needed to be said. There is so much to love, there's so much good, and it's such a shame the game is so... for lack of a better word, f***ed. But yeah, it's just another one on the fire. Like, these big game companies that were never big game companies back in the day, like take Blizzard, for example, or Bethesda, where they made games that were full of development teams that had a clear vision of what they wanted, of a purely good and great game, and they made it, and it was successful, and then investors saw it, and then the company grows, and then with a growing company comes a marketing division and a PR team and all that other great shit that comes along with becoming a big corporation. And, well, then the vision becomes disjointed. All of a sudden people want returns on their investment. What? You throw money at something and you want it back? Ugh. Crazy. And then they're like, oh, we want deadlines because we want our money at this time, and we want microtransactions, and can you make it a live service? And oh, by the way, loot boxes are doing... sorry, surprise mechanics, am I right, gang? It's just a shame. And I feel like CD Projekt Red is another one of these companies that's suffering from that. Because make great games for a really long time, and then out of nowhere, Cyberpunk. It's Warcraft 3 to World of Warcraft, Morrowind and Oblivion to Fallout 76. Like, it really doesn't get much worse than that. But, yeah, that's my opinion on the controversy. It's a shame as to what happened to Cyberpunk, and it will happen again, and it will happen so many times, and we'll never learn our lesson. But I learned mine. I am never pre-ordering a game again. And you know what, I'm just gonna stick to games that are tried and true. I'm probably gonna play RimWorld next. Oh, and speaking of, I'm sorry, I will not be reviewing Synthetic anytime soon. I wanna wait until I have like one of my good friends to play it with, because that game, it is so good. It's so satisfying that I refuse to not do it justice by playing it solo, which I do with most of my games. So I wanna wait until I have a friend that's pretty committed, pretty on often to play it with, because it deserves to have the full experience, and playing it solo is like, it's fun, but I don't think it's the full experience. Anyway, thanks again for joining us. I stream over at twitch.tv/flexofunk. I have a Twitter, and I'll link it somewhere. And thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye! Fucking Markiplier head ass.